Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and today I'm just gonna do nothing but tell the truth. That's right, this is the Truthful Podcast, where we tell only truths, only facts are being spoken here. The reason that I'm only speaking the truth is because I don't want my nose to grow large. So here's the first fact of the day. The first very truthful fact. The new Pinocchio fucking sucks, dude. So yeah, I recently watched the new Pinocchio movie from legendary director Robert Zemeckis. So yeah, this is like, I don't know, the millionth Disney remake so far. They're not getting any better. I don't know if they're getting worse, but they're not getting any better. If they're not getting worse, then they've pretty much just hit the bottom already. Like it's so annoying to have to watch a movie be remade into something worse. It's so annoying. I can't stand how Disney does this so often, and people are just dumb enough to keep watching them. And to be fair, I am part of that group because I went out of my way to watch this movie, so I get it. I'm an idiot for doing that. But, one, it's not my Disney Plus account that I'm using, but also, I am fascinated by how much these movies fuck up. Because, here's the thing, I at the very least feel like they need to have kind of an idea of what they're doing. Like, Robert Zemeckis going in to remake Pinocchio is obviously doing so for money. He's doing so because he wants to improve upon something that was flawed before. The only problem is the original Pinocchio is great, and I'm going to be talking about it in a bit. But first, I just want to go through this Pinocchio and how it's basically just the first movie, but bad. Like, extremely, extremely bad. Like, I can't even think of a single thing this new Pinocchio did well. So, obviously, one of the first things that it does worse is that it's live action, where every human actor is just trying to be these animated characters, but much slower and much less interesting, and they just don't have the speed to catch up to these animated characters. Like, Tom Hanks is a good actor. He's a good performer, but he sucks in this movie because he's trying to be the original Geppetto, but like more whimsical, I guess, but he can't because he's not a cartoon character. He's very old. Tom Hanks is 66 years old. He can't compete with a bunch of drawings that don't age at all. Luke Evans is in this movie. He's a good actor. He just doesn't really deliver at all in this movie. He's not very good. He's trying really hard, but he just can't compete with the original Coachman. Like, there's so many good actors in this movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Keegan-Michael Key, Lorraine Bracco. Like, these are good actors, but they just suck in this movie. Well, Keegan-Michael Key is at least trying a little bit. I respect the guy for trying to do Honest John. He's not as good as the original Honest John, but he's trying. Joseph Gordon-Levitt fucking reeks, dude. He just is so bad. He's so bad as Jiminy Cricket. His voice is annoying. He looks like garbage, and that has to do with the animation just being terrible. Jiminy Cricket in this movie sucks. Like, even the writing for Jiminy Cricket, like, he doesn't do anything that great in this movie. He's a terrible, terrible conscience. Like, it even says, like, at the beginning when the Blue Fairy gives him the role of Pinocchio's conscience, like, he actively says, "Oh, I'm the temporary conscience." So it's like, okay, so you don't even want to do this job. Like, okay, like, why are you here then? Like, why should I care for this character who doesn't want to be there? Also, what a terrible conscience. Like, he's not committed to be Pinocchio's conscience. Like, that's like the number one rule for a conscience. He needs to be committed. He needs to want to be the guy who shows right and wrong to Pinocchio. Like, that's literally what a conscience is. And you fucked that up, Zemeckis. How? Like, that's basic shit when writing Jiminy Cricket, and you don't do it well. Lorraine Bracco's in this movie, and I thought that was cool because I recently watched Goodfellas a couple months ago, and I'm currently watching through The Sopranos, and she's great in that show, and she's great in Goodfellas. She sounded old and tired in this movie, like she didn't want to be there. It's like, you know what? I don't blame her. I wouldn't want to be there either. And there's just so much extra shit in this movie. There's a whole subplot where Stromboli hired some crippled girl to be this puppeteer, and then she has a whole subplot about, I don't know, unionizing and being against Stromboli and trying to start her own puppet show. And it's like, okay, I don't care. I'm not here to witness a fucking subplot about a puppet show. Like, I'm here to watch a Pinocchio movie. Like, really? They add this thing. They add this backstory for Geppetto where he once had a wife and child, and that goes absolutely nowhere. There's the scene when Honest John tells Pinocchio to be an actor, then they get sidelined, and so then Pinocchio actually does go to school, but then school kicks him out for being a puppet, and so then he goes to Stromboli. It's just like, you're adding on shit that didn't need to be there. Like, it's paced so horribly. Like, just scenes will just happen, and you're like, all right, that was a waste of time. That added nothing. You could take it out of the whole movie, and it would benefit from that. It would benefit from being a lot shorter. I know this because there's already a better movie that exists where it's exactly that. They don't have this extra shit, and it's so much better. And but anyway, also the CGI, as I said with Jiminy Cricket, is terrifying. The CGI in general is terrifying. It's so terrible. There's Monstro, who looks like shit. There's the Blue Fairy, who looks like shit. There's Honest John, who isn't the worst thing ever, but he also does not look good at all. Fucking just everything is just filmed poorly. The lighting is so bad. It's so oversaturated in the day scenes, and in the night scenes, you can't see a damn thing. There's just nothing happening, or it looks like nothing's happening because it's just filmed so poorly, because Hollywood movies just don't know how to color correct. They just make it so dark, and like you can't see a damn thing. I can't stand that. Movies, please get better at being shot well. Please, just I want to see, for crying out loud. Is that really so much to ask for out of a movie? That I want to see what's happening. And then there's the scene when the clocks go off. And if you've seen that clip floating around the internet, you know that there's a scene where like a bunch of the clocks are all Disney characters for no reason. It's all just references to other movies. You got Rafiki holding up Simba in The Lion King. You have Woody from Toy Story. You have Donald Duck. You have Dumbo. It's just like Roger Rabbit. It's just like, in any other movie, these would be background gags. Like, you put them in the background as like a small little Easter egg. Like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's a scene with a bunch of hieroglyphics, and one of the hieroglyphics is C-3PO and R2-D2, but like they're not called attention to. Like, they're just there. They're just hieroglyphics on like amongst the wall. Like, that's it. It's a reference. It's an Easter egg for like film nerds to point out. That's it. But no, in this movie, the Easter eggs are just at the forefront because Disney is so fucking desperate, and they just think like, oh, reference, we got to make reference. People will coom themselves when they see reference. It's like, it's annoying. It's so annoying. And I didn't think Pinocchio would stoop this low. Like, why did the live action Pinocchio stoop this low and just make references to other stuff? Like, oh God, it's embarrassing. This is such an embarrassing movie. I'm so embarrassed for the people involved. I'm so embarrassed to have even watched it. Why did I watch it? Oh, because I hate myself. That's why. Yeah, there's really not much else to say. It ends on a ambiguous note for no reason. Yeah, like, does Pinocchio become a real boy? Oh, some people said he did, but we're not going to reveal if he did, but we're going to have him change into a terrifying, creepy CGI child for like a split second. It's like, okay, like, why? Like, what did that add? What purpose did that add? Like, that was nothing. It was literally nothing. That explains the whole movie. It was just nothing. It was the first movie, but bad. That's all it was. That's all these Disney remakes will ever be. The original, but bad. You can't convince me otherwise with any of these movies, with any of these remakes. And even the ones that are slightly better, as I've said, even the ones that you could probably classify as being slightly better as the original, are still not good movies. Obviously, with this being a stupid Disney Plus exclusive, I will never own it on Blu-ray. And you know what? For the better. I never want to watch this movie ever again. It's going nowhere near my collection. Even if I had it on Blu-ray, it would never come even close. Okay, that's enough of that. If you couldn't tell, bad movie. But let's not talk about a bad movie anymore. Let's talk about a good movie. The original Pinocchio from 1940, which I happen to have on the 70th anniversary Platinum Blu-ray that I got recently because I knew watching that Pinocchio remake would just piss me off. So I figured, you know what? I gotta watch the original, but I want to own it on Blu-ray because I love it that much. And guess what? I watched it, and yeah, I love it. It's a freaking awesome movie. I watched it as a kid, I loved it. I watched it now, and I love it still. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Disney movie ever made, but that doesn't mean I don't not get anything out of it, because I do. I get a lot out of it. I love the animation. I think it looks great for being basically 80 years old at this point. I love how it's able to just get through this whole adventure in just 88 minutes. Like, it goes by just like that. It's amazing how well paced it is. You know, you go from one character to the next. You go from one scene to the next. It's great. Like, Honest John is only in like 2 scenes, but I remember him clear as day because he's just such an interesting character. Stromboli gets like 2 scenes, but he's such an interesting character. And then you don't really see them again. Like, you just go to them and then you're gone. And I like that. I like that we're given these characters for just a couple of scenes. So we only get like a little bite-sized we only get like really a little bit of them. And I like that. I like how the coachman is not really given a whole lot. I like how we never see the donkey boys anymore. Because 1, that's not what the movie's about. But 2, like, any further explanation would just bog down the movie. And it's great. It's so briskly paced. And the characters are great. Pinocchio himself is a really charming character. Like, is he the best Disney protagonist? No, but he does his job well enough. He's supposed to be this, like, normal kid. Like, that's essentially what he is. He's like, he is a vessel for the audience to kind of put themselves into and, like, kind of view the world as this charming little wooden child. But also, like, he does screw up a bit. Like, he's naive. He's gullible. He falls for Honest John's tricks not once, but twice. Like, I feel like that's a great lesson for kids, like teaching them that, yes, you can screw up. You're going to screw up badly, in fact. You're going to act out, but it's fine because if you know that you are, you can learn to better yourself. That's why, like, when Pinocchio is on Pleasure Island, he actually partakes in messing up Pleasure Island. He actually partakes in smoking a cigar and drinking beer. Like, he does all that. Why? Not because he's a bad kid. He's just a normal kid who screws up, who just doesn't understand. Like, that's fine. Like, that's just how it is. In the inferior remake, when he's on Pleasure Island, Pinocchio knows immediately, oh, this is a bad place. I shouldn't participate in doing all this destruction and drinking root beer and smoking cigars. It's like, great. I can't relate to that. I can't relate to this perfect boy. Like, I can relate to a character who actually does screw up and falls into peer pressure. Like, and I know the remake had a peer pressure song, but again, like, you know that he knows that this is wrong. Whereas like in the original, he doesn't know it's wrong. That's more fascinating. That's more interesting. I like when characters are flawed. Disney, don't be afraid to make flawed main characters. You can do it. You can make people who are kind of pieces of shit at times, because guess what? Then they can learn a lesson. It boggles my mind that Disney refuses to make these kinds of characters anymore. They just make them perfect from the get-go, and then there's just no tension, no character arc. It's like, why even bother watching then? Like, why am I watching a movie about a character who's already perfect? Like, that's what makes Pinocchio so great. He's not perfect at first. He's quite naive. So then he can like learn a lesson. He can learn to become a real boy. Like, that's the point of the movie, to learn to become a real boy. And guess what? He does so, because by the end, he's just like, I got to go rescue my father because he's been put in a situation because of me. I need to fix it. He comes up with that all on his own because he's learned his lesson. He's like, you know what? I need to fix this. I actually need to take responsibility for my actions and actually help out and make things better. Great. Simplistic. That's all you need. I don't even think Pinocchio is like my favorite Disney movie. It's not. I don't even know if it's in my top 10. Maybe it's 11. I don't know. But like, it's so simple. Like, this is simple, basic shit. And this movie does it so well. It's so simple. I love it with all my heart. It's not even my favorite. But isn't that awesome? Like, movies can be so good and they don't even have to be a favorite of mine. Like, I miss that. I miss when that could be good movies. Movies that I can praise and say are great, but they don't even have to be my favorite kind of movie. Like, again, Pinocchio is not my favorite Disney movie. Whatever. I still love it, though, because it's a good movie, because it has likable characters, it has great animation, it has a very fun story, and it's only in 88 minutes. Like, could you ask for more? I sure couldn't, but some people were, and that's why Disney made the remake, and guess what? It sucked so hard. At this point, I think it's safe to say that yes, I will be in fact keeping this Pinocchio Blu-ray, because I love this movie with all my heart. Again, even though it's not in my top 10 Disney, maybe it is. I don't know. I'd have to like actually list them and kind of come to a final decision. But as for the movie itself, all on its own, it is a Blu-ray I will definitely keep and return to for years to come because I love this movie a lot. I'm very nostalgic for it, to be fair. Maybe that also plays into my love for it. But even if I wasn't nostalgic for it, I would still prefer it over the remake. And I think it's still worth watching over and over. I could definitely watch this again and again and never get tired of it. It's one I will return to loads of times. So, you know what? I'll just leave it at that. It's a keeper. Okay, I'd say that about does it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for hearing me ramble about Pinocchio and Pinocchio. Sorry I didn't get to talk about Pinocchio and Pinocchio, but one of them was about a fruity Pinocchio. The other one isn't out yet. Maybe I'll get to them someday. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just all Pinocchio'd out after the Guillermo del Toro movie. Who knows? We're not there yet. Alright, that does it for this episode. Thank you all, but now it's time to say goodbye. And always remember what Jimble's crickets used to say, let your conscience be your Snyder cut. Okay, goodbye! Just